Hey gang, and welcome back. Just a reminder, you can now use the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, at flipsidegaming.com. You'll get 10% off orders over $10 and help with the channel at the same time. My shirt was also provided by Epic Upgrades. You can check out a bunch of their other designs on their Facebook page. This week I'm playing Titania, Protector of Argoth, and I keep a hand with Harmonize, 2 Snow-Covered Forests, Avenger of Zendikar, Terramorphic Expanse, Realms Uncharted, and Splendid Reclamation. Matt is playing his 8.5 Tails, and he keeps a hand with Plains, Land Tax, Skullclamp, Anointed Procession, Emeria Angel, Darien King of Keldor, and Sol Ring. Trevor is playing his Kruphix God of Horizons deck, and he keeps a hand with Sylvan Library, Forest, Island, Eldrazi Temple, Eye of Ugin, and Cavern of Souls. And lastly, Mike is playing his Varolz the Scar-Striped, and he keeps a hand with Thought Vessel, Lightning Greaves, Grim Haruspex, Forest, Swamp, and Woodland Cemetery. Matt wins the die roll and starts us off. For Matt's first turn, he plays a Plains and casts Sol Ring before passing to Trevor. Trevor only has a Forest and plays it before passing to Mike. Similarly, Mike plays a Swamp and passes to me. For my turn, I play Terramorphic Expanse, cracking it for a Snow-Covered Forest, and pass to Matt. On Matt's turn, he plays Land Tax, then taps Sol Ring for Skullclamp before passing to Trevor. Trevor plays an Island and then casts one of my favorite green spells, Sylvan Library. For Mike's turn, he plays a Woodland Cemetery and then taps his 2 lands to cast Thought Vessel. For my turn, I decide to ramp a little bit and I cast Exploration and then play 2 Snow-Covered Forests before passing to Matt. This allows Matt's land tax to trigger on his upkeep, and he grabs 3 Plains before playing a Plains in his first main phase. He then casts Anointed Procession and passes, having to discard down to 7. On Trevor's draw step, he takes 8 damage to keep 2 extra cards thanks to Sylvan Library. He then plays an Island and passes to Mike. For Mike's turn, he plays a Forest and casts Grim Haruspex before passing to me. For my turn, I play another Snow-Covered Forest and I pass to Matt. On Matt's upkeep, once again Land Tax finds 3 Plains, and moving to his main phase, he plays one of them. Mike then shows off his sweet video game skills, and Matt plays out Aven Mindcensor, fully grabbing the attention of the table. In response to this, I cast Realms Uncharted. I grab Command Beacon, Crystal Vein, Ghost Quarter, and Mouth of Renome. I then give them to Trevor, and he sends my way Crystal Vein and Mouth of Renome. Following the resolution of these 2 spells, Matt then plays 8.5 Tails and passes turn. On Trevor's turn, he doesn't take any extra damage from Sylvan Library, and instead plays an Island in his main phase and then passes to Mike. For Mike's turn, unfortunately he doesn't draw a land, so instead he casts Fleshbag Marauder. This forces Matt to make a hard decision, and 8.5 Tails has to die. Mike gets to draw thanks to Grim Haruspex, but it unfortunately isn't a land, so he passes turn. For my turn, I play a Snow-Covered Forest and Mouth of Renome before passing to Matt. Land Tax triggers once more, and Matt finds another 3 Plains. Matt then casts Emeria Angel, hoping to get a sweet landfall trigger from the Angel, but Trevor counters it with Cryptic Command and chooses to counter and draw a card. Matt then plays Mistveiled Plains and attacks Trevor for 2 with the Mindcensor before passing. Trevor decides to take 4 from Sylvan Library during his draw step, and during his first main phase he plays Temple of Mystery, scrying the card that he'd seen with Library to the bottom. He passes to Mike and has to discard Blue Sun Zenith. For Mike's turn, he misses yet another land drop and moves to combat, swinging the Grim Haruspex at Matt for 3. For my turn, I play Crystal Veins and then cast Sol Ring. I then cast Harmonize to draw 3, and tapping the rest of my lands plus sacrificing Crystal Vein, I cast Titania, Protector of Argoth. Titania's Enter the Battlefield triggers, and I grab Command Beacon, putting it onto the field. With nothing else, I pass to Matt. Matt quickly double checks to make sure I'm still more lands ahead, then uses Land Tax to find even more Plains. During his first main phase, he plays a Plains and then casts Grand Abolisher, and in response, Trevor responds by casting Reality Shift on the Mindcensor. Knowing that he's drawing a lot of hate by playing out these cards, Matt readies himself for some oncoming attacks and drops Darien, King of Keldor, and discards down to 7 before passing turn. On Trevor's turn, during his first main phase, he plays Caverns of Souls, naming Eldrazi, then casts Ulvenwald Hydra, finding Temple of the False God, and passing turn. Mike responds to Trevor's end of turn by casting Putrefy on Darien. For Mike's turn, he draws and plays Command Tower. He then casts Gerard's Orders, finding Sidisi Undead Vizier for his hand, and Bloodghast to the graveyard. Mike then realizes that playing Command Tower beforehand is a mistake, but unfortunately he can't do anything, so he passes turn. For my turn, I play a Snow-Covered Forest, and moving to combat, swing Titania at Mike. Mike jumps with the Grim Haruspex, and both creatures die. During my second main phase, I recast Titania to bring back Ghost Quarter and pass to Matt. For Matt's turn, Land Tax triggers once more, and moving to his main phase, Matt plays a Plains. Matt then recasts 8.5 Tails and equips the clamp onto his manifested creature. Matt then is forced to discard down to 7 and passes to Trevor. Without even bothering to play a land in his first main phase, Trevor slams out Ugin and downticks the Spirit Dragon for 5, which Mike is super okay with. Trevor lets me keep my Soul Ring because we're friends, and a bunch of things get exiled. With nothing else, Trevor passes to Mike. For Mike's turn, he plays Overgrown Tomb, taking 2 to have the land come into play untapped, but unfortunately he misses his Bloodghast trigger. He then casts Sidisi, who exploits herself, and goes and finds a card. In response, I sacrifice Command Beacon to put Titania back to my hand. For my turn, I cast Reap and Sow Entwined, and poorly decide to target Trevor's Cavern of Souls, since not being able to counter Eldrazi is a big issue for all of these decks that aren't running blue. I grab Wooded Foothills and I crack it, taking 1 to find a snow-covered forest. I then cast Titania and return Command Beacon to the field before passing to Matt. On Matt's turn, it's kind of unusual for land tax not to trigger, and instead he plays a Plains before casting Grasp of Fate. He targets Trevor's Ugin, my Soul Ring, and Mike's Thought Vessel. He then casts Audric, Master Tactician, and activates Mistfeel Plains. This allows him to put a card from his graveyard on the bottom of his library. With nothing else, he passes to Trevor. Trevor plays an Eye of Ugin and passes to Mike. Mike casts Fecundity and then casts Treasured Find, returning Fleshbag Marauder to his hand. With nothing else, he passes to me. For my turn, I play a Snow-Covered Forest and cast Squirrel Wrangler before passing to Matt. Matt plays a Plains and recasts 8.5 Tails. Moving to combat, Matt swings a Manifest Creature at Trevor for 3, and Trevor decides he can afford 3 life rather than let Matt draw 2 cards. At the end of Matt's turn, Trevor activates Eye of Ugin to find Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger. In response, I use Ghost Quarter to kill Trevor's Eye of Ugin, and he finds a forest to replace it. I do, however, forget to make a token with Titania. For Trevor's turn, he plays Eldrazi Temple, and then immediately casts Ulamog. He targets Grasp of Fate and Squirrel Wrangler. I respond to the trigger by sacrificing a land and making 2 squirrels. Matt then asks if he can target Ulamog with 8.5 Tails, using his ability to make the Eldrazi white and giving his Grasp of Fate protection. Now, as I'm pretty sure you've seen some of my other games, we're not exactly judges, but after a solid 10 minutes of googling rules, it seemed very much like he could in fact do this. This is a bit of a speed bump to Trevor's plan, so he moves to combat and smashes his Ulvenwald Hydra into Matt for 9 damage to help alleviate some of the disappointment. With nothing else, he passes to Mike. Mike plays Terramorphic Expanse and remembers to bring back his Bloodghast. He then casts Fleshbag Marauder, and everyone sacrifices a creature, but on the upside we all get to draw thanks to Fecundity. Matt actually gets to draw 3 as he chooses to sacrifice his Manifest creature. Mike then cracks his Terramorphic Expanse to find a forest, and making up for mixed triggers, Bloodghast returns for a second time this turn. Mike then casts Lightning Greaves and equips them onto the Fleshbag Marauder before passing to me. For my turn, I play Dryad Arbor and then drop Sunstone onto the field before passing to Matt. For Matt's turn, he casts Expedition Map, and then he equips the Skull Clamp onto Audric. Matt then cracks the map to find Nykthos and plays it. Matt then casts Elish Norn, killing all of Mike's creatures and my squirrels and Dryad Arbor. Mike and I get to draw cards, and I also get an elemental token thanks to Arbor dying. During his first main phase, Trevor moves to his plan B and casts All Is Dust to deal with Matt's Grasp of Fate. Unfortunately, Matt's tricky cat has no way to stop this, but he does however make Ulamog white. This forces Trevor to sacrifice his own Eldrazi, but Trevor and Ugin are finally reunited. Trevor then plays Breeding Pool tapped, and upticks Ugin, bolting Matt in the face for 3. For Mike's turn, he plays a Swamp, and Bloodghast returns to the stage. He then casts Diabolic Revelation for 3, and in response, I sacrifice Command Beacon to put Titania back into my hand. For his combat step, Mike swings the Bloodghast at Ugin. Mike then has to discard some cards at the end of turn, and passes to me. For my turn, I start off by casting Llanowar Elves, and then give him a friend in Fintorn Elves. I recast Titania, bringing back Command Beacon, and then drop Scavenging Ooze and pass to Matt with 1 green mana open. During Matt's main phase, he casts Nihiri and upticks her, creating a soldier and getting to put a Skull Clamp onto it for free. This basically turns Nihiri's first ability into gain 2 loyalty counters, draw 2, which is incredible for white. Matt then casts Sun Titan, but Trevor stops it with foil. Matt then discards down to 7 and passes to Trevor. During his first main phase, Trevor once again downticks Ugin for 5, exiling most of the board. In response, I use Scavenging Ooze and 1 green mana to exile Trevor's Ulamog, gaining 1 life. He then casts Seasons Past, a card we've been teasing Mike about as it's a card he keeps forgetting to pick up. And Trevor returns All Is Dust, Eye of Ugin, Ulvenwald Hydra, Cryptic Command, Reality Shift, and Blue Sun Zenith. Trevor then plays Eye of Ugin and discards one of his cards at the end of turn before passing. Mike plays Foul Orchard for his turn, but no amount of lands will bring back his poor Bloodghast. He then casts Cultivate, putting a swamp onto the field and a forest into his hand. With nothing else, Mike passes to me. For my turn, I play Blighted Woodland and cast Eternal Witness. I bring back Harmonize and cast it to draw 3. I then discard 2 lands and pass to Matt. At the end of my turn, Matt casts Enlightened Tutor to find Karmic Justice. For Matt's turn, he plays a Plains and casts Sigil of the Empty Throne to try and bait out a counter from Trevor. With no response, Matt then drops Mobilization and gets an Angel thanks to the Sigil. Matt then equips the Skull Clamp onto the Angel and passes to Trevor. During Trevor's first main phase, he uses Ugin's second ability, removing 0 counters to exile all the tokens. Trevor then plays Void Winnower before passing to Mike. At the end of Trevor's turn, Mike casts Beast Within, targeting the Void Winnower. Trevor allows this to resolve, and he gets a 3/3 Beast. Mike plays a Swamp for his turn and casts his own copy of Scavenging Ooze. He then casts Nature's Spiral, returning Sidisi to his hand. Mike then casts Sidisi, and once again she exploits herself, tutoring for a card, and Mike passes to me. For my turn, I play Windswept Heath and recast Titania. I then crack the Heath to find a snow-covered forest, gaining a token. I follow up by casting Avenger of Zendikar and gaining a bunch more tokens before passing to Matt. At the end of my turn, Matt makes a soldier token thanks to mobilization. Before Matt's turn, out of nowhere, Mike experiences a brutal shark attack. Then, in Matt's main phase, he pays 1 and equips a soldier with a Skull Clamp to draw 2 cards. Matt then plays a Plains and runs out Karmic Justice, and Matt gains an Angel. Matt then drops Crackdown and gets another Angel before casting Cathar's Crusade to get yet another Angel. With nothing else, he passes turn. For Trevor's turn, he plays a Forest and then recasts All Is Dust. Mike responds by exiling the Void Winnower and gaining 1 life thanks to Scavenging Ooze. Trevor then upticks Ugin, hitting Matt for 3 once again, and recasts Ulvenwald Hydra to find Shrine of the Forsaken Gods. For Mike's turn, he plays a Forest and casts Ob Nixilis Unshackled. He then moves to equip the Greaves onto the Demon, and Trevor decides to reality shift the poor guy. Mike then sees this as an opportunity, and he casts Alurin. Mike passes his turn, but Matt responds by casting Return to Dust, targeting Alurin. Mike responds by casting his general, Varolz the Scar-Striped, and, once his commander is resolved, holds priority to cast Blood Artist and Endless Cockroaches. This is an infinite loop, as he's able to sacrifice the cockroaches which return to his hand, which he can cast for free to get 1,000,000 Blood Artist triggers. With Trevor tapped out, Matt having no other answers, and myself being completely useless, we are unable to stop this combo from going off, and Mike wins the game. Game review time. So, unfortunately, Matt and I didn't get to do very much, and there was a bit of a misplay that I made. Well, not a misplay, but something I should have done earlier on. I realize now that I should have used Mouth of Renome to kill Trevor's Beast token, and then swing with Eternal Witness to kill Ugin. It was a small oversight of the time, but it could have alleviated pressure, but I mean, ultimately it didn't do very much since Mike was able to combo off anyway. Matt had just recently changed his 8.5 tails to be less of a Voltron and more of a token-based commander. Although Matt didn't win, I thought it was pretty incredible the way that he used 8.5 tails to prevent Trevor from destroying Grasp of Fate and also forcing him to sacrifice his own Ulamog. Trevor's Kruphix deck is nasty and full of Eldrazi goodness. Typically the Simic decks I go up against are mostly control-based, so it was really cool to see a different kind of take on this. Mike's Varolz deck was pretty neat, but unfortunately he didn't do very much until he won at the end, and it was with an infinite combo, which can be a bit boring for some people. This being said though, the game had gone for 1 hour and 45 minutes, so I was really happy that it ended so that we could move on to another game. Please be sure to tune in every Monday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video, with a second video popping up sometime during the week. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta, or check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/MTGMudsta. This video is brought to you in part by support from my Patreons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below or in the About section. As always, thank you guys for watching, and please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.